Welcome to the TDK12 podcast. I'm here to help you navigate the exciting world of living overseas, being an expat, international teaching, and more. I was an expat living and working overseas from 2002 until 2019. After relocating, I decided I wanted to share information I had for those people who might be looking to go overseas and those people who are already overseas and looking to make a move. So join me for this podcast, and if you want to watch on YouTube, the podcast is on YouTube with some visuals. There are links both in the podcast show notes and on YouTube. Please subscribe and hit the like button if you like this. Let's get started. Jumping right into it, job recruitment. I have a lot of notes on this. I'd like to start with some very fundamental stuff. All right. First, priorities. You need to list your priorities somewhere. They should be written down. I recommend, in order to start job recruitment, that single people and families create some kind of cloud-based shared document, have a list of priorities and goals for your job and your family. You should have a list of all of your financial goals, all of your debts, all of your obligations. And you need to also write down, this is really important, the goals for your children and their education. This needs to be written down. This is like financial planning. A good financial planner will say, look, whatever you want to do with your money, fine, but you need to decide and you need to write that down. So whenever an opportunity comes up, you can look at that document and say, is this in line with what I want to do? Is this in line with my plan? If it's not, usually you just need to walk away from it. I would say it's more like 90% of the time. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you're married and you have 2 children and you're at a school where they get free tuition. And you're not really that happy with your job. Now, your job, if you're in education, is very similar from school to school usually. If I'm going to move to a new country, my life might improve a little, personally. I might make more money, might save more money, so I'm doing better with those financial goals. My spouse may be working, may not be working. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that her life improves a little. But my children could transfer into a school that has a curriculum that isn't in line with what they've been doing, and it's a lot more common than you realize. The school may have a limit where one child is free and the other child is half tuition. We may be looking to expand our family, and the school that I'm interested in doesn't even allow a third child at half tuition. So that means one child's at 50% private school tuition and one child will be at full tuition eventually, if we stay long enough for them to get into preschool. Those are really big factors. You need to write all of this stuff down. Why do you want to live abroad? That should be something you think about often. You can change it, but when you get into recruitment season, you need to have this written down. Why are we living overseas? Question yourself. Do we still want to do this? Are we here to save money? Are we here to travel? Are we here to have an adventure? Write those things down and rank them. Whatever is at the top, that is the most important. If you want to think about this in terms of numbers, this is what I would recommend. And I know this sounds a little like technology geek nerdish, but trust me, it really helps. 1 to 5, okay? The very, very most important thing to you needs to be a 5. The next 2 things should be a 4, and then you can decide 3 to 2 doesn't really matter, and the lowest thing should be a 1. Because usually the 2 things under 5 are tied all the time, at least I find that. The other thing I mentioned was your debts and obligations. This is more important for people who are just getting ready to go abroad, and they've never left their home country. And it doesn't matter if you're from the US or Canada, that doesn't matter. What matters is that you're moving from a place where you have some kind of foundation, where you have managed your expenses and you've managed your life, and you're moving to a place that's going to be very different and the initial cost of moving to a new place is very high. With your debts and obligations, you need to make sure that the first 3 months abroad, you can pay all of your bills without any money from your new job. 3 months or 12 weeks, however you want to look at it. Trust me, I've thought about this. I've done the math on this. I've been in the situation both ways where I actually felt like I had enough savings and I didn't. And I've been in a situation where I had enough savings and I planned it, and I can't tell you the difference and how that feels. When you can show up somewhere, not worry about money, not worry about transferring money back and forth, you can get into the country, can get into your job, you can focus on what you're doing and not spend all of your free time, maybe even some of your like personal days straight up at the beginning of the year dealing with finances, it makes your life so much better. So my rule is you need 3 months or 12 weeks to pay whatever your debts are. Let's jump into the actual practical things you need to do before you even start recruitment. So I've advised you to make a plan and write it down. Hopefully you'll do that. The next thing you need to do is work on your materials. Now, I have probably applied for more jobs than most people that I know, and there's a reason for that. Sometimes I apply for jobs to practice, and I do it fairly frequently. So here's my advice for getting your materials organized. In your like cloud drive or however you're organizing your files for yourself and your spouse, remember everything should be shared with your spouse. They can help you look over stuff. I'm not saying you should put this out to all your friends to look at. You don't want your cover letter and your resume being everyone's cover letter and resume. Keep that in mind. I would have one person at least that I trust if I wasn't married that would be shared on this content and reviewing it. Within your cloud structure, what you want to do is you want to make a folder for every job that you're applying for. And then in that folder, you want the resume, cover letter, and all research materials for that job, including the original job posting. You want to copy that original job posting and paste it or make a PDF of it. The next thing that you need to do is you need to register with agencies. Now, if you're new to teaching overseas, I will have a full episode on how to do this. But basically, there are agencies that help you get placement. Some of them are expensive. I wouldn't say that expensive. I mean, you need to invest between $200 and $400 of your own money to do the registration. It's not that bad. I would say if you're going to do job recruitment and you're going to do it all online and you're not going to travel, not going to go to job fairs or anything, you're just going to try to do it all online, you should budget around $750 for paying agency fees, possibly even paying a service to help you with your resume. And there are people that even help you write your cover letters. I don't think it's a bad idea. Just a full paid subscription to a service that helps you do that, or that, checks what you're writing in real time. I'm not going to plug any software, but I think some of you know what I'm talking about. It's helpful and it's worth it. You need to invest in this. Remember, this is a big decision. You shouldn't go super cheap on the entire process. I would recommend joining of the 2 or 3 largest agencies that do overseas placement for teachers and administrators. I would join only one of the expensive ones, and then I would join 2 or 3 of the smaller ones. Now, some of the smaller ones are interesting. A few of them are free for teachers. LinkedIn. You really need to develop your LinkedIn. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to get a job on LinkedIn. More and more schools are using it, and it does have some very good tools for people who are doing recruitment, meaning HR people. But still, the majority of jobs are not going to be on LinkedIn. What is on LinkedIn is all of your information in a nice format for recruiters. So this is how it works. And I have had firsthand demonstrations of this from HR people. So HR people, once they get candidates in, through the webs, so maybe the school has a website, maybe they're just going through recruitment agencies, but eventually they get a list of people. Now, the next thing the HR people have to do is they have to shortlist them. Heads of school, assistant heads of school, principals, they go through all this information, but there's usually somebody else who helps reduce the number of applications before they cross the line and get up to administration. And if that is the case, then what they want to do is they want to find the quickest way to make the numbers smaller, right? That's logical. So they start doing things like looking on social media and specifically looking on LinkedIn. So they go on LinkedIn and they click your profile. And when they do that, they can download your profile as a PDF. And I'll have an example of what that looks like in the show notes. That PDF is a very concise overview of all of your experience, certifications, blog posts. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. It's a different layout than your resume. And it is a tool that LinkedIn obviously developed for HR people. Some schools pay for like the premium version of LinkedIn. They can get a lot more data from your profile than just this PDF download as well. When you do start looking for jobs, you can get really, really excited because early on in recruitment season, there are a lot of jobs available. And depending on your situation and the priorities that you have set and that you have documented, you're going to start narrowing down, jobs pretty quickly. It's important to try to find a school that is aligned with those priorities and those plans that you have put together. And what I mean by that is don't go somewhere that is going to obviously tax all of your free time until you get to a school holiday if one of your priorities is having a good work-life balance. I follow quite a few people on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I follow Frankfurt International School. They have some very good social media. I like to watch all the stuff that they're presenting. They always have interesting stuff nearly every week. And last week, they posted this thing. It was like 1 in 4 teachers in America works 60 hours a week. Their comment was, at Frankfurt International School, it's 4 in 4. So that means that school is expecting dedicated people who are doing more than just teaching, who are really involved in the community. If that's not something you're interested in doing, you don't want to apply there. Yes, it's an amazing school. No one is going to argue with that. If you talk to anybody who's worked at Frankfurt International School, they'll tell you it's amazing, that living there is great. But that's what you need to expect. If you don't have the energy for it or the interest, you shouldn't do it. There are schools in Thailand that are good places to work and very nice, calm places to live with a small number of students, and they don't pay very much. In US dollars, they could pay $18,000 to $24,000 a year only, but in the part of Thailand they're in, that is a significant amount of money, and you're getting paid in US dollars. So if you don't have any debts and you're not paying a mortgage, or actually even if you're paying a small mortgage, it would be fine. That's a good job for you, believe it or not. You can actually save money. You can live in Thailand, up in the mountains. Your cost of living is going to be very, very low. You're going to be doing a lot of outdoor stuff and just kind of hanging out, participating in your community. And I would say it would be pretty relaxing. You're going to do almost all of your travel in Thailand and Southeast Asia where your dollar is strong. If you need to save a lot of money and you have a lot of debts, that's a bad job for you. You're not going to reach those financial goals that you have, or you're not going to meet those debts and obligations that you have. So you need to look for schools that align with your priorities. If you don't do that, then you're going to get into a situation where you immediately regret the decision. And it costs a lot to leave a country. Leaving the first year or even the second isn't usually a good plan. I wanted to think about a few things to avoid when you're recruiting. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was school review websites. School review websites have a place, and they're important. You can't make a choice based on someone else's experience. And you need to keep in mind, if you see a school review on a school that you're interested in, and there's 2 reviews, this is what you need to do. First, you need to go to that school's Wikipedia page or go to their web page, main page, see when the school was founded. Okay, so let's say the school was founded 10 years ago. How many teachers have they had? How many reviews online did you find in public places where people can post freely, on Facebook where people just talk about whatever and don't really care about consequences, or on an official review site? How many reviews did you find? 2? 2 in 10 years? 2 negative things? You see what I'm getting at? You would go to a restaurant if it had 200 positive reviews and 10 negative ones. Just keep that in mind. Like, these reviews seem really strong because you're thinking about making a huge commitment. So you're trying to look for the perfect place. I have worked with people who've worked at some horrendous schools, and no one at the school has ever posted anything negatively. But there are plenty of bad schools where you're not going to find any reviews. So if you're just trying to trust reviews, that's a mistake. You should be able to evaluate a school based on a whole set of criteria. And I'll go through that in another episode when we're looking at, okay, we've shortlisted stuff and now we need to make decisions. But that's all I have for this episode. I hope it was good. Remember, if you liked it, whatever you're listening on or watching on, hit like. And if you have any questions, you can email me directly at tonydepreto@gmail.com, also in the show notes. Or you can go to TDK12.net and all the information for this show is there, including a way to contact me.